Hey, welcome to my channel. This is my 1997 Volkswagen Golf. It was purpose-built for rallycross, but in this video we're gonna take it to the track here at Mission Raceway and see how does a rallycross car perform on a track. Let's get to it. Okay, we got him. After like an hour of searching, I found these special splined lug nuts. These are the only things I currently have that are small enough to go into the hole of those wheels that I'm trying to put on the car. Alright, back to it. Not a big fan of these splined lug nuts, but they're the only ones that fit. Eventually I'll get some better wheels, because I'm not sure if how much tarmac I'll do with this car. These are just old snow tires that I run, or used to run in the gravel. So they're quite chewed up and not something I'd want to drive aggressively on pavement. I have done one autocross event with this car before, and I just picked up these really cheap, well-used tires on Marketplace then. It was just a fun run, and I didn't do all that well. So since my first autocross, some changes that have been made now is an engine swap. So this is a 2-liter engine, ABA. Originally this car came with the 1.8. And I've also upgraded the suspension to the yellow Bilsteins HD. They handle much better, at least in the dirt. And with the engine swap, I put in the newer O2J transmission, which has a CAS LSD in it, a plate diff. So it's actually set up quite aggressive. you get a lot of torque steer on the street. So that'll be something to play around with on the track. We'll probably just have to coast around the corners and be very gentle with our throttle input coming out of the corners. As you can see, the car is not the prettiest. I've replaced panels. The doors are from a newer car, so that's why there's such a color difference. Most of the paint is quite faded. The clear coat on the hood is peeling, and then the roof was spray painted before and it's all faded again. So this car wasn't built for looks. But I did pick it up for $650 originally. It was not a bad deal, but I've spent a ton of money on it since. Mechanically, the car is actually quite solid. The engine was completely rebuilt before it went in. It was a bit of an experiment we did. There was quite a bit of upgrading done internally. It does have the older forged crank. I believe they were Manley H-beam connecting rods, JE forged pistons, 10.5:1 compression, and then on top of that we shaved the head just slightly to boost the compression. I think we stuck with the OEM size valves, but it's had brand new valves put in it. Everything was ported out and machined, balanced, and then the camshaft is a TT 276. Definitely not a powerhouse, but it's a lot peppier than it used to be, that's for sure. What I really like about this engine is the power band is quite smooth, so it'll make torque at quite low RPM and it'll have a nice smooth power band, good mid-range. Not a whole lot of top end, but typically not something we need at rallycross. So skid plates are always important when you go off-road, like in rally or rallycross. So on this car we've had a tubular rad bar put in, which has been linked to the factory crossbar here, and then some tabs added to the subframe back here where a tubular frame mounts to, and then that tubular frame is covered by an aluminum skid plate. So I've removed all of that because we don't need it on the track, and it'll just be extra weight I'll be hauling around. Control arms have a little bit of reinforcing, but they are stock. Bushings are all replaced with polyurethane, and they're actually quite beefy on these Mark IIIs. They've held up quite well. I've never had to do them since I put them in, and I would say even for stage rally these should hold up. Steering wise, we are factory, except there's a steering quickener added into the column, so we do have a little bit of a faster turning ratio. So it's quite dirty under here. As you can see, we've been rally crossing this car. I do try to pressure wash it as much as possible, but getting under here and into every nook and cranny is almost impossible. So the rear of the car is also designed quite simple. With a solid axle beam, you only have the two main bushings, which I've upgraded to polyurethane, and they've never given me any issues since. And then you have your lower and upper shock bushings. I did bend the original axle beam, which didn't have the sway bar in it. And I'm not 100% sure if the old one had all this extra gusseting that this one has. It was a long time ago that I replaced it, but this is out of the GTI model. So it has the factory sway bar. So this is also a new addition since the last time I did the autocross event. So this should really help keep the rear end more stable, because these cars do tend to lift one of the rear tires on tight turns. So I'm excited to try that out and see how that goes. So the stock fuel tank is still in place, and it's just been wrapped in aluminum to give it some extra protection. I just noticed the rear driver's side caliper is leaking fluid at the seal where the handbrake lever comes out of the caliper. The car's been sitting for a while, so I guess it's not very happy about that. This is the second time this has happened. That caliper only has a few vents on it, but it has sat for a while, and it's happened on the same side twice now, while this side doesn't have any issues. That's interesting. It must be a common issue with these calipers, I guess, so we'll have to address that before we head out to the track. So the car's back on the ground. All the wheels are on and torqued. So now I can give you a better look of the inside of the car. So the doors, I pretty much gutted them as much as I could and replaced the glass with some plexiglass. Not too happy with how I did the rear because they are not quite sealed. This thin stuff tends to expand and it creates these waves. So I do have another set of doors with the original glass still in them. So sometimes if I'm gonna make a longer trip or I'm gonna go do some pace note practice on an FSR, I'll throw the factory doors back in. The front worked out much better because the front doors, I didn't gut them as much. So the front doors still have all the factory window regulator and that stuff in it. With these, I was able to just leave the rubber molding in, and the way these doors are designed, the glass is just clamped in with 2 bolts, like a clamp style fastener. So you release these 2 bolts here and the glass slips out, and you rotate it in the right way, you can pull the whole glass assembly out. And then I've copied them in plexiglass, and you can push the plastic in and just secure it in the factory way. I probably should have just done the same thing in the rear, but I really wanted to gut all the doors out because I originally wanted a 2-door Golf, but I couldn't find one at the time, so this one popped up for cheap. So I figured if I can't have a 2-door Golf, the next best option is to make the rear doors as light as possible. I did go a little overboard with and put a bolt-in cage in it. It is mostly entirely unnecessary for what I do, and it just adds extra weight, but I guess technically it does make the car illegal if you want it to go do time attack and that sort of stuff. And it does allow you to run these 5-point harnesses, which are just old expired rally harnesses, so I'll need to upgrade these most likely for the track. So the seat does go back and forth, and I also have swapped in the tilt column, so if you want to let a friend drive your car at rallycross, everything can be adjusted depending on the driver. This car originally had a sunroof, so that has been blocked off, and in its place is this super fancy rally roof scoop. Which does come in handy on really hot summer days. The door bars were welded in. They came with the roll cage kit, but were optional. Cheap eBay wheel, and we do have a steering quickener built into the steering column. Gauges, but 2 of these, the sending units are shot, so they're no longer reading correctly. We have a really old TerraTrip intercom, which if we go out for recce practice, we can have communication, because the gravel noise does get quite loud from the underbody, the gravel hitting the underbody of the car. We even have a map light in here. I had plans on doing some TSD rallies with this car eventually. That hasn't happened yet, but she's ready to go should I choose to take it out anytime. We also have this custom hydro handbrake, so we ended up just building a custom bracket and I believe this is the lever from the original handbrake. It doesn't quite bite as well as the one in my Civic, but I also don't end up using it much on the slower courses. Behind that we have adjustable brake bias. So it's just an inline proportioning valve by Willwood. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 settings. So that's all the way forward. That's all the way rearwards, which is nice, especially at lower speeds. You can rotate the car better without even having to use this. At higher speeds, say at like a TST rally, or if you're out doing some recce practice, you'd slowly start advancing this more forward to get more forward brakes. This is a super duper fancy O2J shifter box, factory Volkswagen shifter box with all custom stuff made up here to mount it. It was the easiest way to do it for us, so that's what we ended up doing. Yeah, otherwise, wiring, ECU is factory. ECU is chipped for the cam that's in the head. So it came with, the chip comes with the cam when you buy it, and it tunes the car according to the cam you're running. So otherwise everything is factory on the engine management side. Alright, track day is tomorrow. So far, given it a wash today, cleaned it up a little bit. It doesn't look any better, but it's a little bit cleaner. I've replaced one rear caliper that was leaking. Brakes wise, we're good now. I still gotta do a harness swap because they do not allow you to run track days with expired harnesses. So I'm gonna pull the one from my Civic and temporarily just throw it in here for tomorrow. I was just messing around with the wheel alignment now. My steering wheel was slightly off center, and I was running pretty heavy toe out for dirt, for rallycross, and I'm just gonna zero that out a little bit more. I'm gonna aim for about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of total toe out. So I'm just gonna finish that up. I'm gonna throw some new oil in it, and then get on my harness swap, and then we should be pretty close to ready. It's just a few little things. I'm gonna try to peel this window protection film I put on there. It is very sticky. I want to get these old numbers off. I've got the sticker residue off. Some acetone really did the trick for that. So yeah, I'm just doing I'm gonna finish this one up too. Clean her up a bit, put some lipstick on the pig, and make sure she's driving straight. Out goes the old dyno juice. The oil actually isn't that old yet. Still somewhat clear. But the car has been sitting for, geez, over a year probably. And I'm always concerned about moisture, condensation and stuff building up in the engine when it's sitting, because I had it parked outside throughout last winter and all season. So if I'm going to be driving it hard, better put some fresh oil in it. And while that finishes up draining, I'll go around and just do a quick bolt check, mainly on the suspension parts. Make sure everything's tight and solid, ready to go for tomorrow. Nothing but the gold for the race car. I'm gonna pre-fill this just to be safe, and then we'll fill her up with oil, new oil. This is the most expensive oil I've ever put in this car. Normally I run Castrol GTX non-synthetic 1030. I run it in the Honda. I ran it in this, although this is not a stock engine, it was rebuilt. But I do have quite a loud lifter noise at cold start. So I'm gonna try this stuff. I've heard good things about it. It's even recommended for VWs. So we'll see how it goes. synthetic and it's slightly thicker when hot. We'll try it, see what happens. I think eventually I will have to just replace the lifters in this, although I have heard that when you cam these engines that they tend to be a little bit noisy on the top end, so I'm not too concerned about it right now. All right, pre-filled. Thank you, Volkswagen, for putting the oil filter in a reasonably easy location to get to, unlike some cars. Cool. New filters on, drain plugs back in, cleaned up all that mess a little bit. Time for fresh oil. Man, I love how easy these old cars are to work on. You could, if you tucked in your knees, I'm sure you could like lay yourself in here. That's how much space there is. So much space to work on. Love it. Love old 90s cars. I'm gonna start dinner here. It's a nice day out though. A little bit of a sunset.